Hey, what's going on, guys? It's me, your boy SMG Clicks, and today I'm with my friend Omar, and we're gonna be creating a new series. Can you tell us more about this series, please?
So we're starting a podcast. We've already dabbled into this before, and we had like a series going on. It carries the same name as this podcast, and so it's called Talk Night. And essentially, it's just gonna be a short podcast where two bros just discuss some topics, and hopefully you'll like it.
Exactly, it's just us talking about whatever. Of course, you can tell us your suggestions in your comments. Basically, this is the same podcast I had on my channel. We're just bringing it to a new channel where we both combine our thoughts to it. Our topic today is going to be about the new generation of gaming consoles, the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. Tell us more.
Okay, so of course we have the new generation coming up. So right now the Xbox is offering the Xbox Series X. That's what they're calling it, and the PlayStation is offering the PS5. We can talk about the difference between the two strategies of the companies, the perhaps even the hardware, the technology, and we can even discuss how this global pandemic situation would possibly affect the business aspect of the release of these two consoles. But let's start with some general information and some general discussion.
All right, so two consoles, of course, Microsoft and Sony, biggest in the they're the biggest in the in the franchise. The Nintendo are coming in with the Nintendo Switch, but they're not actually competing. They might be competing, but they're not at the same level yet.
Yeah, there's definitely some variety in the industry. So Sony and Microsoft are obviously on a very similar wavelength. While Nintendo is selling a lot of units, but they're in the handheld segment, a segment that Sony hasn't really made any moves in quite a while, and Xbox hasn't really touched this segment in forever, really.
Yep.
So going back to the main big consoles, they're both going for power, 4K.
Yep.
High FPS. It seems that the Xbox will be somewhat ahead of the PlayStation. It's
True.
not quite determined by how much it's gonna be faster when it comes to processing power. Possibly about 10%, give or take.
Yep.
What do you think the processing power will really make a difference?
Well, I have the specs in front of me, as you guys will see too. Both of them has a Zen 2 based CPU. Both of them with 8 cores. The difference is the Xbox is capped on a 3.8, or not capped. It moves around the 3.8 gigahertz. Or actually, no, the Xbox is capped, and the PS5, sorry, moves at variable frequencies. But the end of the day, they're both the same CPU. Might be a couple of different frames, but what I'm trying to figure out is, are these competing for? Because these are actually good. Like, these are very good hardware. They play 4K, possibly 120 FPS. So, as you can see, this is kind of dangerous, or not dangerous. They're competing for the computer. They're trying to take over the computer industry. What do you think? I find that they're trying to just take over the whole computer gaming thing and just make console gaming.
Well, I certainly believe that PC gaming is going nowhere, but Sony and Microsoft have been definitely giving it more attention. So when it comes to the video game department, we know that all the Xbox exclusives are also available on PC. especially quite recently, Microsoft has been putting the games out on Steam. So
Yeah.
so we can see that, of course, Microsoft, the creators of both Windows and Xbox, they've linked the two platforms quite extensively. And when it comes to Sony, we've seen them, some of the Sony exclusives coming to PC, and it's actually rumored that Horizon Zero Dawn is coming to PC. So we can see that obviously they acknowledge that market segment, and perhaps the huge, the huge jump from the base consoles that were released in 2013 to the 2020 console is obviously it's a generation leap. And they're definitely trying to have their consoles at a position where they're not outdated on release, and competing with the PC hardware, maybe not at the very top end, but definitely a very respectable range. And obviously they're throwing around lots of buzzwords such as 4K and 120 FPS. There's no guarantee that we're going to have both of those together, because even some of the highest end hardware, PC hardware, cannot achieve that. But we can certainly expect that if you want high refresh rate gaming on console, that could finally be a possibility at 1080p. And if you're looking for the most beautiful gaming experience and eye-pleasing, there's 4K for you. It's actually rumored, or even maybe confirmed, that Assassin's Creed Valhalla will actually run at 4K 30 FPS on the next gen consoles. So that tells us that 4K 60 FPS is still far into the future. Perhaps with further optimization, we'll start seeing that a bit more.
Yeah. Okay, and they tackled a bit of a, or at least for me, they tackled a bit of an unexpected territory of their system. They went for all out on the SSDs. Did you realize that, like, what's your opinion on, they just went full out, like they wanted to make their gaming systems faster, loading times. Why do you think they did that, and do you think it's actually worth it?
Yes, so that is definitely a strategy that they're going with, the SSDs. It seems like Sony is taking the SSD deal a lot more, let's say, seriously than Xbox is. Obviously, Xbox in their advertisement campaigns, they were more focused on the pure processing power, and the SSDs were sort of just mentioned to say, hey, it's okay, Sony are not beating us on that department. But Sony have, as we have seen in many Sony, or perhaps a single Sony presentation, their SSDs are perhaps not ahead in speed compared to the ones you're getting in PC, but there's a technological advancement that's going on that will allow games to be, the integration of the SSD and the RAM and everything, they will work together in such a way that would allow the PS5 to handle greater and more detailed worlds. And that's really what it's all about.
Yeah, I mean, I find it, they went, here's what I like most about the new integration into Xbox Series X SSDs. They have a module, like you can change it, like in a module design. They made their own SSD. Now, there's like, to every situation there's a pro and con. The pro of this is the easy way of changing the SSD. The con is you don't have a lot of variety, because Microsoft is only making their own SSD for themselves. Now you're gonna have three third-party SSDs that will make. I'm guessing that will make SSDs for the Xbox Series X, but I think that would be a much more far in the future. What do you think about this new design of the SSD for the Series X?
Yeah, okay. So for the last gen consoles, currently the current gen consoles, swapping SSDs with the hard drive that comes with the console has been quite a simple process. just a few screws and you've got yourself an SSD.
Yeah.
But obviously, with the new SSDs that are coming with the next generation, the SSD has become not just storage that is, it's become much more than just storage. It's an integral part of how the game runs. And yeah, so it's definitely safe to say that even with Sony, it would probably be somewhat difficult to find an SSD coming from a third party that would perform the same way as
Yeah.
the Sony SSDs, Sony supplied SSDs. So it's not surprising that Microsoft are doing the same thing, and perhaps that's just a way to make more money.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. I
It could just be like, who knows, maybe in the future buying an SSD for your console will be just as simple as buying a controller for your console.
I think that's the vision. There, I think. Okay. Okay. So the Xbox Series X obviously looks like a computer. Looks like a normal tower computer. Yeah, maybe a bit of modifications, but like the look, it looks like a computer. We're not gonna lie about this. Or at least in my opinion. And the whole easy change of SSD, the whole, faster loading times, the whole more power. It just strikes me as they're just trying to compete with the computer space. If you see, like, on actual PCs, you can change the SSD faster, you get better performance most of the time, and this is what they're trying to do. And actually, interestingly, I see in front of me that says the PS5 has VR support, and Series X doesn't have VR support. I'm not sure about that, but that's what it says in front of me right now.
Yeah, actually, that goes back to the fact that Sony actually has developed a VR headset for their consoles, and it would be surprising that Sony would upgrade that VR headset for the new generation. But Xbox really hasn't dabbled into that space, which is really interesting. Despite the fact that actually the Microsoft, I believe it's called the HoloLens. So the company is working on VR projects, and but they're not perhaps integrating it with their Xbox gaming division, which is definitely interesting. When it comes to Sony, I think I believe they that number was published like a year or more ago. They sold 2 million units of the PSVR.
Yeah.
So it's definitely somewhat successful, at least successful enough for Sony to continue with continue with the project. And it would be exciting to see what the PS5 would be able to offer in terms of the development ease of making VR games, and making VR games even more accessible to the crowd of the console space.
All right. We obviously talked about the Nintendo scene. What do you think is the next Nintendo big console? Do you think it's gonna be a console where it's just like at home, or do you think it's gonna be portable, or do you think it's a hybrid like their Nintendo Switch?
So definitely the hybrid design of the Nintendo Switch has been one of its major selling points. I think the majority of the console market right now is heading towards a more power and processing speed and storage speed kind of direction when it comes to advancements. And while Nintendo is not directly competing in that area, they definitely have lessons to learn and things to implement into their own ballpark.
I mean, I'm like, sorry to cut you out, but I just want to say that Nintendo actually has some decent titles. They have Wolfenstein, FIFA, WWE. and the Tegra GPU that is included in the Nintendo Switch, it's actually pretty decent and it's performing pretty good. I find that Nintendo should take it a step further, maybe create a pro version, maybe just create two different consoles, do something creative, do something that's out of the ordinary.
Absolutely. I think the biggest things that the Nintendo Switch needs would be obviously more storage, because the system comes with 32 gigabytes, sorry, and the rest is it's expandable via SD card. I think the next step, if they're gonna make a Pro model or even a Switch 2, would be, the next logical step is to add more storage built into the system. Obviously, faster storage if possible, and just a more powerful chip with better cooling as well. And cooling is a really important part of any portable or mobile gaming system.
Yep.
Yeah.
So on the topic of cooling, the PS5 design hasn't been leaked yet, or actually shown. The Xbox Series X only has one fan though. Okay, so I find the case design actually works well with that one fan design, but in the PS5, I'm guessing there's gonna be at least two fans, if not more, because they had one fan for the last how many years. I think the PS4 had one fan as well. Adding in two fans would help cooling, at the same time no noise, and just give you an overall longevity of the whole system itself.
Yes, that's definitely true. Adding more definitely better cooling is an important part of gaming systems again. But with consoles, actually, it's a very popular complaint about the PS4 that it gets very loud under load. So perhaps adding more fans into the system will allow them to run at a lower RPM. But cooling more still at the same efficiency, because you have more fans. So that's something that they could possibly have engineered to help with the cooling. No liquid cooling expected.
Yeah.
But that's fine. Actually, it'd be interesting to see what the coronavirus does to the production numbers of the consoles as well. Because it's the global pandemic, as we said at the beginning of the video, it could possibly affect the number of units that are able to be shipped. I mean, who knows? A lot of people have been in a dire, economic situation that perhaps does not allow them to buy the new consoles.
Yeah. I see in front of me here, it says both of them will release November 20. Yep,
possibly.
Possibly. And I'll bring up this tweet. PS5 said that the owner said there won't be a delay, but then he said there is gonna be a delay. I don't think he made up his mind yet. But will the coronavirus affect the release date or the units sold? Doesn't it depend if it ended or not though? I mean, I think it will end, but if it does, then I think it will go smoothly. If it doesn't, it will be a slow start for the PS5, but and both of the consoles actually. But after the pandemic ends, I think it will just be as normal, and they will just get skyrocket in terms of units sold. What do you think?
That's definitely a possibility. It'll take time definitely to see how things pan out. But right now, it seems like the virus isn't going away anytime soon. And in my prediction, I'm not a doctor. I think this pandemic is going to continue to some extent into 2021.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't be surprised if the production numbers are initially low and the prices are high because of the obviously the increase in demand for SSDs as well. That's something that would not just affect the consoles, but even it might affect the PC market as well.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have been making predictions around the price, but the general consensus is that it's
500
it
maybe?
might be actually maybe even 600. 500 or 600. 500 below 500 is definitely the sweet spot, considering the specs and everything and the SSD. But a $600 price tag is to be it's entirely possible.
Yeah, but think about it. I'm guessing it says here it's $500-$700. But this is a console you probably won't change for the next 5 years or for however it takes to release the next gen. Even if it breaks down, you get another one. But what I'm saying is that any other or almost any other device you get almost lasts 2 years or 3 years. Like I can't, like a phone for example, you pay way over that price point and you still change it after 2 years. This is a device that will stay with you for almost 7 years or 5 years. It's a device that it's worth your money, in my opinion, honestly.
It's definitely it's sort of a people will just have to look at their situation and if they can afford having that system as part of their purchases at this time.
Yeah.
So it will be a different deal for everyone, really.
Yeah.
Some people do justify spending on a phone, for example, that they want to keep for more than 3 years because they use it all the time and it serves them well. But with the PS5, it's definitely more focused, and people have to just measure things out and see if it's a good decision. And I hope that the viewers are all doing well and that they're making wise economic decisions. That's for sure.
Yeah, I hope everyone's staying home, staying safe, taking the necessary procedures to stay safe in such a dire situation. Honestly, like, all we can do is just wait right now and wait for the release, and we gotta wait and see what happens. Also, I wanna tackle in one more thing before we end the podcast. Backwards compatibility with games. So the Xbox Series X, as I do know, will support up to Xbox the original, I think, even like some games at least, but I think it will support the whole Xbox 360 library, which I think is absolutely amazing. I think it's the fair thing to do, you know. You don't have to throw all your old games away. You can still enjoy them every now and then. On the PS5 side of things, I think it only supports up to PS4 games, and think some of the games, not all the games. What do you think about this?
Yeah, so obviously, backwards compatibility, it's been a focus for Microsoft for the longest time, and there's no doubt they're gonna double on it when it comes to moving to the next generation. When it comes to Sony, due to the great variation of the architecture of the consoles, how the CPU is made and all that, the variation that they had, especially going from the PS3 to the PS4, it didn't allow for much backward compatibility, but which is something that a lot of people criticize Sony for. In this generation, but going to the next generation, it's due to the difference between the 7th and the 8th gen, which is the current and the next gen, not being so huge. Sony is likely to bring all games. If a game works on the PS4, it's likely to work on the PS5, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to things before that, these games will probably have to be either
Modified.
streamed through PS Now. Actually, it's just
Mm-hmm.
out of older games are played through PS Now
Yeah.
when it comes to the Sony.
But it's actually.
Uh,
Do you know that it's not confirmed yet? I mean, it says in front of me that PlayStation Now is still unconfirmed for the PS5, which I find ironic. I think it should be confirmed by now, but anyway, we just have to wait and see. Anyway,
Yeah, Sony are doing a lot of announcements and a lot of confirmations of things that perhaps seem obvious, but they definitely will double down on PS Now, looking at the fact that Google is getting into that field of the Google Stadia, GeForce Now.
yeah.
Microsoft are doing their thing, and PS Now is one of the oldest players in this segment, and I don't
Mhm.
see them pulling out so early.
I think it's gonna be called, on the Xbox side of things at least, called Project X Cloud. That's the confirmed name till now. Yeah, I just find it that there's no reason to not allow gamers to play their old games on new consoles without paying. You know, they already paid for it. You don't have to make them pay them again. But I do understand that it's business and they need to make more money. I think we tackled on everything here. Of course, online is going to be paid, which is a shame. You know, with Xbox having Xbox Live and PlayStation having PlayStation Plus. Both great services. I prefer PlayStation Plus because they give better free games, in my opinion. But it's what you need to pay for to play online. What's your opinion on subscription services? Like, of course, there's a pro and a con. Pro, you have to pay. The con is you have to pay. The pro is you get free games and online. So, what do you think about the whole? Hey, you have to pay. And why did they do this? Because in the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360, it was completely free.
That's so basically. I mean, it's a way to get more money, but some people justify it, saying that they do sell us the consoles, especially when the consoles are brand new. They do sell them at they're not making profits essentially by selling them at the prices. You know, so in one way, they lose money on the console, but they gain it back through the subscriptions and the game purchases. So perhaps it's just a necessary part of keeping their business model alive and well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah.
At the end of the day, they're both great consoles. They both will be amazing. They both will play your favorite titles. It's just at the end of the day, which one do you prefer? Which one would you? The last question of the day. Which one would you buy?
That's definitely a good question. Perhaps it's too early to say. We have amazing rumored games. I personally look into getting into more racing games, so Forza Horizon 5 or maybe the Gran Turismo for PlayStation.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just so much potential on both sides that honestly I can't make a decision.
Here's what holds me back off an Xbox. We talked about this before privately. Because Xbox is so connected to the PC, every game that goes on, or most games that goes on the Xbox, comes to the PC, which means that what's the point of buying an Xbox in the first place? Unless you have bad hardware, then you buy an Xbox. But we have decent hardware that runs Forza Horizon 4 at 60 FPS, low setting, medium settings to high. Forza Horizon 5 will be a demanding game, but is it demanding enough to buy a new console for it?
It's definitely going to be a next-gen title. I'm excited to see what Playground Games are cooking up. I've heard of some rumors, such as that it will be in Japan. So it's definitely going to be a next-gen only title. So, I mean, who knows? But I mean, the Xbox One X is actually still quite potent. So maybe Microsoft might implement it into the new generation's ecosystem. So who knows? There were even rumors like last year. There were lots of rumors about base level Xbox that's cheaper and still around the same power of the Xbox One X, or even a little more powerful. So who knows? Maybe getting an Xbox, especially if they offer a cheaper one, wouldn't be such a bad decision. But we still don't have any confirmation about that, so time will tell.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna tackle the subject back when the whole release happens. You have anything to add?
No.
All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you stick through, this was our first episode. As we said, we don't prepare for this. We just speak out of the heart. We're just two bros that just wanna speak about subjects and have fun. Of course, you can say your suggestions or what do you want us to talk about next in the comment section, and we will make sure to do that. Thank you. It's been Talk Night. See you guys next time.
Take care.